name's Chris. I am the owner and head fabricator of Polaris Breach Effects. There's my lovely sign back there. I wanted to explain what Polaris Breach means. Polaris Breach is, and as you can see, my logo is a shark. I've always had a passion for sharks. My favorite love is the great white shark. It's also my biggest fear. It's not that I'm afraid of the ocean, but the idea of being hunted by, a 21-foot fish that wants to eat you is just terrifying. What was that? That was my cat sneezing, by the way. Anyway, Polaris Breach is when a great white comes from underneath you, comes straight up, hits you with such force that probably knocks you out of the water, and sometimes they breach the surface, sometimes 15 feet out of the surface. In the haunt industry, and when you are a haunt actor, you know that no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you build up your character, you're only going to be seen for 3 to 5 seconds for the most part, in low light. So you want something that really makes the customer remember who you are. Remember that scare, that face. Oh, that was creepy, whatever that was. What I try to do with my masks is give the actor that ability. Give the actor the ability to create the same kind of fear that a Polaris Breach gives me. So that's why with my masks I have such a variety of things. Also, I have bad ADHD, and that's just how my mind works. It's hard for me to focus on any one style when there's so many sweet styles out there. So if you look at this small example of masks, you have everything from Lovecraftian and very organic, like the octopus, Cthulhu, or Davy Jones, some people like to call that one. You can do mechanical, like this Doom mask, of course, based off The Good Doctor. If you wanted to go more of a retro style, you could do, this is a Gort style, and I'll show you in later videos how to do each one of these styles, whether it be robotic, futuristic, cyberpunk, whatever you're after. We'll play around with a lot of different styles when it comes to the masks. Let's see. You can even go a different route. Think a toon, like a cartoon. A lot of people in my business make clowns. There's nothing wrong with clowns. I enjoy making my clown just as much as the next person. But I don't get a lot of clown orders because there's so many clown makers out there. When I do make clowns, I try to come up with something a little more just different. So a lot of my clowns will have this burlap coating, and I can show you later how to put burlap onto wonderflex just to give it extra texture. In the vein of a clown character, the clown trope, I thought it'd be interesting to introduce toons, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit toons. Zany, wacky, just like clowns, but not necessarily in clown makeup. So one idea I did was, this one's more on the nose, this is Wile E. Coyote, just to see if the style would work in the material, and indeed it does. So from him, I started elaborating more on creating my own toons, my own characters. All of them in which there's two things you have to consider when you make a toon. One, they have to be bright, blacklight bright. So if you look at this guy, so I turned off the light so you can see the blacklight effect a little better on the toon. Hopefully that shows. This is Commander Zorn, and if you're a fan of Invader Zim, you can see some of the references in style and in just coloring and stuff. So in playing around with the toon ideas, I realized that blacklight paints create a richer color. And even though I work a lot in the horror industry, I decided to incorporate blacklight almost into all of my designs. So you take a look over here, the armor here that I'm building is blacklight. Let me put Zorn back. Let's do a sweep over. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's always a little bit of black light in all my masks. Cool. I'm going to hit the light now. So by adding black light paint to all my masks, it gave them a richer color. Now what I was saying earlier, I do a lot of work for haunts, and a lot of people want bloody, drab, and that's fine. But I found that in those low light conditions of haunted houses and haunted forests and all these different haunt attractions, bright stuff tends to pop better in those low lights. Now if you're going for like a Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre look and you want it bloody and wet, that's fine. But if you want something that where you pop out from a tree and all they see is a demon looking at them, let me show you something. Imagine seeing this come out of the woods, and that's all you'd see for about 3 seconds, and then it's gone. I'm all about those lasting impressions. Not just, oh, I saw a zombie in the woods. Not hating on zombies, but at the same time, I don't care. But this is something that's going to be memorable. You don't know what it is, you know, and that's what it's really all about. Is creating, not only creating what the customer wants, of course, and whatever creatures they want, but also helping them coming up with a creature or a design that's more unique. A little, you know, something that you don't see every day, not run of the mill. So what I do is I make masks for haunted attractions, outside haunts, inside haunts. I also do the convention circuit of the haunted attractions. Things like Transworld, MHC, or the Midwest Haunters Convention are a few that I've been at in the past. And I'm planning on going on to Transworld, what year is it? 2021. Hopefully, if this virus stuff kind of tames down a bit. We'll be seeing, if anyone wants to come see me in person, I will be at Transworld 2021. I believe that's in St. Louis this year. One of the problems that I often am faced with, that actors come to me for, is the ability to stay in costume and have a mask that can not only last a whole season, but they can be in for 5 to 6 hours at a time without really dying. Of course, no mask is 100% comfortable because you have something on your face. Makeup is always a preference to some people, but when it comes to masks, I'm your guy. Now let me tell you why. So, these are some examples over here. These are all made out of a thermoplastic material called wonderflex. What wonderflex is, I had an example around here. Let me see. Wonderflex is a thermoactive plastic. Obviously, if you order it, it comes in bigger sheets. Probably about, I think it's 4 to 6 feet per sheet. Yeah. Okay, so this comes in sheets. And I'm sure you're all curious, how do you turn this into something that looks like this? Well, that's the interesting thing about thermoplastic, is when you heat it, it becomes like silly putty, I guess would be the best way to describe it. Let me heat this up real quick and I'll come back to you. Alright, I'm back. So, this is the same sheet, I swear, that I had earlier. As you can see, it has now become floppy and very durable. Now the cool thing is, this has a mesh weave in the back of, I believe, nylon. What that does is it will allow it to flex better once it hardens again. To make it harden again is just time. A couple hours if you really want it to become hard again. So, the other thing is, this stuff doesn't crack like resin would. It tears, if anything. So when you have multiple layers of this, it's very hard to damage it in any way, aside from one thing. That one thing being heat, because as you can see, heat activates it. About 120, 130 degrees and up will warp anything that you've made out of this material. So you got to be cautious of that. So, I just ripped this little piece off. You can ball it up, squish it up, do whatever you want. Right now I'm just making a ball just to show you that. So let's say you were making a clown mask. Like here, let's take this one. let's say you wanted to put a nose on him. So I balled up the wonderflex. You would heat up the point of contact on the mask, this being a wonderflex mask. Heat up the point of contact here. I usually do that with a torch lighter. And then you would stick it on, and then it'll adhere to itself, and then you let that dry, and then it dries together. There's no glue necessary when you're working with just wonderflex, which makes it a lot cleaner of a process. I'm a bit of a messy worker, so this shirt's nice for now, but this is my business shirt. But if you can see the shirt underneath, I'm just covered in paint and crap, you know. So, what I'm going to do, while I discuss these masks and stuff, I'm also going to be making one, just so you can understand, a very simple mask, but I'm going to be making one so you can understand the process of how something goes from a sheet into a mask. Alright, so I heated up some wonderflex, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically hug this face with the wonderflex and then let it dry, and that will give me the basic mask shape, face shape for the mask to be built up on. So, very simple process. Get yourself a head mold. You know, you figure out exactly where you want to cut it so you don't waste too much material. If you're going over the ears, that's a bit excessive, unless you're making a mask that goes over the ears. So, you just kind of heat it up, make sure it's good and hot. Now my hands are like the hands of Tartarus. They don't burn because they've been burned so much. Just be careful if you're working with wonderflex, because it does get hot, and the hotter it is, the more pliable it is. But it's also the more it can burn you. So just be careful of that. And you don't have to worry about the seam here, because we can melt that out later. So, like I said, this is just a very rudimentary face shape that we're going to build on top of. So, you see how I got that sort of just wrapped around there? I'm going to go heat it up a little more so it adheres better, and I'll be back. Right back. So, here we are. I doubled up the wonderflex. For all my masks, I do at least 2 layers of wonderflex as a base. It's still drying at the moment, but as you can see, it took on the shape of the face. Once it dries, I'll just pop that off. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do, this is going to be a smiley face, like a scarred up smiley face mask. I'm going to draw the eyes and mouth holes, well, mouth. And then what you do is you'll cut that out. And yeah, this is a very simple build, obviously. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and draw that, and I'll get back to you. When it comes to all the masks, I like to do eyes first, because then I have a point of reference for every other feature on the face. Let's see. That look even, camera? So, you have a smiley. Simple enough. When this dries, I'll pop it off, cut the eyes and the mouth out. And then I will show you how to do some texturing. So while it's still warm, I was like, why wait to cut the eyes out? I'll just show you now how to do texturing and stuff. So what I have here is one of them torch lighters you can get from the dollar store. So let's say you want to put an X in his forehead or something like that. Now you don't want to heat it up excessively, especially with a torch, because it will melt a hole right through it. Just do a little bit, and then this is a tool I got from Harbor Freight. I think it's, I don't even know what this is for, but it's a little spiky thing. I'm sure it has an actual, and as you can see, didn't go all the way through. That's why you don't want to use like a blade. because you'll just cut right through it. But let's do some more texturing here. Like if you really want to make it look banged up, or even if you just want to do facial textures, like wrinkle lines and things like that, just heat it up, and then you could even do etchings if you so choose. It's tedious, but it can be done. Do like a slash mark there, and do some accents there. Sometimes I just go in with my hands and scratch it. So as you can see, there's the texturing there. Now, the man who ordered this particular mask wanted it extremely textured, so I'm going to go ahead and cut and go to town on this, and I'll be back. It'll probably be painted by then too, and I'll show you what a final product smiley mask looks like. Alright, so I went to town, just as he had instructed, and this would be your final smiley mask. Of course, this one's been through hell and back. So what you got here is some bullet holes. Let's see, here, one there. Slash marks, of course, gashes. Some I just burnt all the way through with the lighter. And it creates a really cool texture. You got bullet holes and you got gashes. And this mask is rigid, like a resin mask, but since this one's about 2 layers of wonderflex, it's going to have a lot of extra flex. So it really, and it's not going to crack on you. If anything, it would tear over time, but we're talking years. The other thing is that I like to do, I haven't done it with this one, but I'll be putting screening in the eyes. Well, if you look at this mask here, he has black screening. That just gives that nice effect of, like, you know, the classic smiley. I also do a foam lining on the inside for comfort. I'll show you with this. This is a clown mask I made here. This is Nemo. He's one of my characters, actually. But I do a padding of foam in there. Just, sometimes this material can be a little scratchy on the skin, but by adding that foam, it pretty much negates all that. So it's really nice and comfortable. So, let's see if I look spoopy. Anyway, yes. So, if any of these masks, or if you make a mask out of thermoplastic or a prop, if something does happen to the wonderflex, let's say if it warps, the only thing you can really do is put it back on the form in which you sculpted it on and reshape it with heat. And with heat, I mean all of this is done with a heat gun. Let's say it ripped, say from here to here. What you could do is you could take a piece of wonderflex, heat up that little piece, create a patch between the two, and since wonderflex adheres to itself and then dries to itself, it would just become a solid piece again, and then you could color it in. So repairing wonderflex is extremely easy. The fact that it is very easily repairable gives an edge to this material. It makes it so you can buy a mask and it will last 4 or 5 years, even if it needs a little bit of repair. I guess what I'm saying is the repair process is extremely simple, and the cool thing is if you buy one of these products from me, or if you make something yourself, it's not going to just last 2 or 3 times and then break. It can be repaired, and it can be repaired easily. So if you invest in something like this smiley mask, I fully expect as the maker of this mask that this will last 5 years at least. It may need some repair, depending on how much he wears it, but that's not too bad. I think that's what gives this material the edge. It saves you money in the long run, and if you have a character you really like, you don't have to worry about, oh, well, the mask I really like, I can't get anymore, I have to redesign him. No, same mask. And like I said, if it needs repair, I can either show you how to repair something, or you can repair it yourself with some walkthroughs. I can talk you how to do it, or I can do it myself, if need be. So basically, thanks for watching, and with this channel, what I want to do is I want to show my art, I want to show my products, but I also want to explain to you how simple it is to make really cool things if you have the right material. You don't have to have a whole shop with tons of different tools and all the bells and whistles. For most of these masks, aside from paintbrushes and paint, I've used scissors, an X-Acto knife, and these mitts. All you really need is a head bust to work on, and you can pretty much create all this stuff with the right material. For me, the right material is thermoplastic. The process is different than other ways of making masks. The more traditional way would be you'd sculpt it in clay, mold it, and cast it in a material of your choosing, be it silicone or latex. This is a fabrication process. It's more like building armor. You have the base, and then you build up. So in that regard, it's a little more tedious as to the fact that you cannot mass produce masks. You have to do them all by hand. Now, that's not to say that if you have the vacuform, you might be able to vacuform this material, but I've never tried that. But yeah, where I want to go with this is, I want you all to learn how easy it is to make things with the right material. And I also want to dive into this here. I've just started getting into armor building with foam, and there's a lot of channels out there where these people are masters. I mean, they're fantastic. And I just always thought it was really neat. So I thought of incorporating what I do with the thermoplastic into some foam builds. So this is one I'm working on right now. This one is Hastur, the Yellow King. He is the half-brother of Cthulhu, if you're familiar. This is all made of foam. This is a foam clay, foamo clay. The mask is made out of thermoplastic. The shoulders are thermoplastic. And it's just a cool merging of two different materials. And it works pretty well together. We'll be getting more into that later. I have a few other armor builds I want to make, and it's a learning process for me. I'm still trying to figure out how to even do it myself. But when it comes to the mask making, we'll just maybe once a week. Maybe once a week we'll have a I'll just show you a different technique, maybe an organic style or mechanical style, or I might just highlight a few masks and do like a basic talk. If you're interested in watching me and my antics, if you want to learn more from me and my cats on how to make some cool stuff, and just kind of watch the process as I evolve as an artist, just like, subscribe, or leave a comment. Me and my cats are always here to respond to any questions you have, and hopefully this will be a pretty fun time.